Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get singles for all your Force of Will and other trading card games, as well as these amazing patrons. Thank you for your support. Class is in session. Hey there, Rulers. Before we get started, go ahead and check that link down below to get your pre-orders in for Epic of the Dragon Lord. Remember, it's $85 a box through Odyssey Games, and if you use the code ALUMNI in your checkout, you get free shipping inside the United States on any box orders of 2 boxes or more. So check that out if you haven't gotten your pre-orders in already to make sure that you get it, and you'll have it on release day. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into this deck profile. This is the Arthur Swarm list you saw me play earlier this week. It is using particularly one card from AO4 to kind of go off, and that just be able to go from having nothing on board to having a lot on board, which is one of the things that machines were already kind of good at, but they still needed to at least be able to stabilize, and getting access to the dual stones as well has really set up for some really interesting play lines here, at least until New Valhalla rotates. So obviously our ruler is Arthur. The main reason we're playing Arthur is because it counts as a machine. So towards our counts of things like remote control Golem or remote control Beast, Mariabella's work, all those kinds of things, that's why we're using this. Stone base wise, we're playing 4 Deepwood, 3 Dark Depths, and 3 Black Silence. It can get a little bit weird in the opening turns if you don't hit at least a blue source from somewhere with the 3 Black Silence, but it is just something you kind of have to deal with a little bit. Thankfully, we have things like optical camouflage or ways to kind of discard stuff to the grave and reanimate it that we'll talk about here in a little bit. Rune deck wise, we are playing Athena's Love, Scrap and Build, Power of Immortality, Final Act, and Maintenance. Maintenance, you'll pretty much play every single game. Final Act is primarily using if your opponent's flipped a J ruler, because you just remove 0 +1/+1 counters, and then you can just kill the J ruler outright. Power of Immortality is really, really excellent for what you saw before with the trick of the Magic Storing Golem, getting to kind of abuse it a little bit to ramp up very significantly. Scrap and Build is kind of an end game thing, especially since you're sending a lot of stuff to grave with Freya to set up nicely. And then Athena's Love. This is primarily to be used to make sure you protect your board on the turn that a Lancelot comes down, or right before a Lancelot comes down, so you maximize the number of +1/+1 counters you get on it and be able to push through using his awesome effect. So 1-drop wise, we're playing Vivian, 3 copies because she generates +1s like crazy. 2 Clockwork Girls, which are primarily because she'll have those +1/+1s for us to use, but also she's consistency. You'll notice we are playing 43 cards in this deck, but we burn through them pretty quickly because of Freya, so it's not a huge deal. This just helps us get other machines to our hand, which is great. Magic Storing Golem, powerhouse here. You can banish it to produce blue-green. We can bring it back with March of the Dead. You can Power of Immortality it. You can kind of ramp up very, very quickly. This guy puts in a lot of work to make it so you go from almost nothing to a full board very, very quickly. 3 copies of Arthur of the Final Act for some additional kind of draw power, as well as being able to just kind of sit on the body, sit on the board. If there's certain things that are targeting, you can just set up Arthur to say no. I don't have to worry about being targeted from that thing. 3 Rhea. Card is amazing, especially considering she says if you would draw a card during your draw phase. So it sets up really, really nicely with Mariabella's work for some really nice consistency pieces of being able to freely look at the top cards of your deck and kind of sculpt your hand into exactly what you need, and send to the graveyard exactly what you need to set up for things like Mariabella, the March of the Dead, and everything else like that. Obviously, we're playing 4 copies of Remote Control Beast because this guy gets cheaper for every machine we have. So we only need to get 3 machines on board and then Arthur, and we can play this for free. 4 copies of Mariabella because she's a great body and she gets us access to any machine in our deck when we summon her. 2 Mariabella's Recycling Robot, primarily doing this because it draws us so many cards, but also just generates us free tokens. Because again, because of how much will this deck produces, being able to cast this isn't really a problem, so it's just a really, really good card. Also helps you filter out dead cards out of your hand, which is really, really nice. Lancelot the Glass Knight, we talked about before, to make all of our guys bigger and have that spot removal access. 4 copies of Mariabella's work for draw power. 3 copies of Erendite because we're in blue, so we might as well try to cancel enter effects. 3 copies of March of the Dead, which is really amazing for bringing back things that we've shipped to the grave with Freya, like Mariabella or Magic Storing Golem. Only 2 copies of Mariabella Type 0. We don't really care about that too much. just realized I missed a card here. We don't really care about her too much, but she can be very, very helpful, especially when we're playing these 2 copies that don't cheat. So sometimes they just turn into additional draw power. And Maribel Type 0 can also be a body, which is awesome. Optical Camouflage for some nice little bounce to get through for pushing for lethal or getting rid of a problem card on board. And then lastly, 3 copies of Determination on the Machine Lord for that push everything through with Swiftness +2/+2 mode for the most part. But that is the deck. Hope you guys liked it. It was fun to build this new take on Arthur, and it was crazy to make use of Magic Storing Golem in such a ridiculous way. That was a lot of fun, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, this is DMO73 saying class dismissed.